Yes. Okay, that's great. Hi. So hopefully I won't take too much of your time. Thank you for agreeing to do this. So I think we'll just introduce ourselves. I introduce myself, you introduce yourself, and we'll just quickly go into what this is about. So, welcome and hi, everyone who's going to be watching this later. My name is Veronica Modupe Yusuf. I'm a founder of Selling Tech Solutions. And today we are just kind of doing a quick highlight of our concluded break, breaking into tech challenge, which is something that we've done 4 times now. That was 5.0. And with me, I have the lovely Suliat, who was also one of the participants, and she has done a nice, would you call it a synopsis or highlight of the challenge? And I just thought it'd be great to record this because we had a few people who wanted to join by day 3, but we said we're too far gone.
Yeah.
And so there will be a wait list, and hopefully we're going to do this as you know as often as we can. So this is really for you to kind of get a sense of what happened throughout the challenge, and the benefits and all the few of the things that we were able to cover throughout this 5 days. So that's what this is about. So I'm just going to let Celia introduce herself, and then we'll go right into it. So thank you. Over to you, Celia.
All right, hi. My name is Sulia Adogulende, and I have been thinking through what's next in my career journey. And I think on one of the platforms I'm on, I saw your 5-day challenge, and I said, you know what, let me give it a shot. Um, Sometimes you feel like you know how to maybe search for a job or you kind of have a clear idea of what you want to do. But I think it's always very, helpful for you to kind of maybe see what other people are doing, see if you can learn from
Mm,
others that are already in the industry, and maybe even just get a sense of how can you do whatever it is you're doing even better. So that was one of the reasons why I said, okay, I'm going to give this a shot. I was a bit nervous, if I'm being honest, just because I know
really?
that, yeah, I was. One, because I've never been part of a challenge. And then
Right.
and then I also said, well, I'm already in tech, so will this
Yeah,
even be
okay.
relevant to me? Um,
Hmm.
so I feel like I kind of went in there thinking, I don't know if this is really going to add value, but I
Hmm.
was pleasantly surprised.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, that's great. Okay, so I'll come back. I'll pick something up from there that you said because I also when you I think I got a message from you saying you had registered. I thought she's already in tech. So what exactly does she need this for? But like you said, you just never know. And I think I'm a big believer. I really believe in lifelong learning. So you just never know what it might just be one thing that you can learn, so you don't close, you just don't close all the doors and just feel like, oh yeah, been there, done that, so there's nothing to learn. So it's really it's great to hear that you are actually surprised, right? Okay, so what do you do at the moment, if you don't mind sharing?
Sure. So my current role is like a compliance role, is like financial compliance for a fintech company. My background, however, was like as a software tester, and I kind of grew within, I would call like software development into like requirements management. I think at one point I even did like system administrator, and then I moved into project management, and then I actually moved into delivery services. So that's where you're responsible for a group of people who manage different projects for clients. So my current role, however, is in financial compliance, and it was very interesting. I kind of stumbled upon it. So I think for me, one of the things I was like, okay, what's next in my career journey? How do I marry my previous experience with what I'm doing now? And if I'm being honest, I think 2025. I mean, we've all been seeing lots of layoffs. I mean,
Mm,
for if
mm,
for the US government to be laying off tons and tons of individuals, it makes you want to kind of just sit up and say, one, how can I be improving my skills? If I do
yeah,
find myself in this kind of situation, how do I actually
yeah.
also make sure that I am on top of my game in terms of what it is to job search? I think we've
Mhm.
all heard about like, companies using different kind of tools and
Yeah.
artificial intelligence bots to actually screen
Mm,
CV. So for me was, okay, how do I kind of one, make sure maybe I don't put myself in a position where I'm always looking for a job. Like, could I,
Yes.
yeah, like, it's true, right? Like, how
Yeah,
can
yeah, yeah.
I yeah, continue learning? And how do I also make sure like my LinkedIn profile actually showcases what I'm doing? So maybe
Yeah.
recruiters will be reaching out to me. So that's what I was hoping to gain from the class, and I definitely did that.
Brilliant. Okay, so let's unpack a little bit. So far, we had 5 days and we had different, different focus per day, if you like. Should we maybe start from day one and what you would say were the highlights for you? What really stood out for you? Maybe we kind of summarize it. So day one, what exactly what it was? Because I think you already did a good summary in the group chat, which is great. So maybe from your end, if you could just, share with our viewers, what were the key highlights for you from day one to day five?
So day one, I would say, for me personally, it was a bit of a challenge. And it was a bit of a challenge not because the class wasn't set up properly, because I felt like that was where I really needed to dig deep, right?
Mm,
Day
mm,
one was about like, okay, what skills do you actually have? Actually write it
yeah.
down. And then
Mm,
how do you now take those skills that you have and try to find possible roles that you can actually potentially do? And maybe do
mm,
an audit of yourself to say, okay, you know what? Maybe I have been in project management or I have been in financial compliance. What
mm,
else could I do? And then maybe, okay, if I have now identified something, and just for the sake of this conversation, maybe it's cybersecurity. How
mm,
do I now determine what I am lacking so that I can
yeah.
then figure out how to grow in those skills? I think for me
Mm,
it was having that honest conversation with yourself, like even asking
mhm.
like what do I actually know? What am I really good at?
Exactly. Yeah.
And being honest with yourself, saying, okay, I think I can get there, but what am I lacking
Mm.
now, and how do I figure out how to get those skills?
Yeah, that it was very interesting because I recall that you left me a note in the group chat just to say, how just to kind of maybe what do you call it now? Maybe look at what you had like specific questions. And for me, I think it was more a case of I think I really kind of went back and I said to you, what exactly do you want at this point? Because you're not, looking to get into tech for people that way because you were already in tech. And for clarity, I mean, day one was about getting clarity, which I think a lot of people tend to struggle with. So a lot of people I come in contact with all the time are like, I want to get into tech, and I say, why do you want to get into tech? And do you have clarity about the actual path that you should even explore, maybe based on existing skills that you have, your background, career history, and all of that. And a lot of people are like, oh, somebody said project management is the hot cake, if you put it that way, or business analysis, or I have a friend who, got into business analysis and they're doing well, and that's the reason why. So a lot of times I kind of send people back to say that is not enough reason. You
Mhm.
must be clear because if you're not, you're just going to be spaghetti on the wall and just hoping that something sticks because you're here, you're there. And I think I almost felt like I challenged you to say, okay, what exactly do you want? You have done, I think you said software testing. You've done quite a few of these other bits in tech, but maybe I think in my mind I was like, is it a case of a career progression, or is it moving from where you were to something completely different? However, or I mean, although in the tech industry. So I think I kind of got the sense that and I said to you, go and sit with it. Because sometimes until we write these things down, until we kind of take stock, we might just be going from here, maybe from one contract to the other. And it's almost like, what does career progression look like for me? So I believe that I think you got, that made you go back to say, okay, I'm not trying to get into project management because I've done it. I've done these bits of tech and all of that. So it was more a case of, okay, what exactly do I want at this stage in my career?
Yeah.
And yeah, and I think that was that was what I said to you. And I mean, I hope, I believe, because at the end of the day, you're like, oh yeah, yeah, you think you know what. And I did ask you again, and I said, are you looking to move from compliance, which you're in the fintech industry, and you said you'd like to stay where you are. And for me, I think sometimes we just need to go through this exercise for us to be able to say, you know what, I really don't need to move
Mm,
at this point. So I'm clear that I'm on the right path.
yeah.
And I felt like that was what you really left day one with. I hope I'm correct in saying that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, it's interesting because there was another thing that you said during the first day, which was, and I think once you really get that clarity, um,
Mm,
you can re you probably can do the job search or you probably can break into tech, but I think having a little bit more clarity in terms, because you said it's not okay for you to just, okay, great if you want to do project management, and we're going to use that as an example, but
mm,
say, for example, for somebody in banking, do you want to do project management in banking or would you like to do it in insurance? So, like, trying to figure
exactly.
out what your niche is.
Hmm.
So I think that was a very, very interesting thing for me because I think, obviously, I think the most difficult thing is sometimes, the battle of the mind, really digging deep and actually finding out. So I think also that piece of the class was also very, I think, important for me to go through as somebody who's thinking about, what's next in my career was,
Yeah,
okay, now I've decided I'm going to stay where I am.
yeah.
Um, what is the niche for me and
Hmm.
how do I actually kind of dig deep and
And grow.
yeah, and
Yeah,
grow in that and how do I showcase that um
exactly.
on my LinkedIn and how do
Dean,
I
yeah,
showcase
yeah.
my resume or CV or whatever it is. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, that's good. So that was day one.
Yeah.
And then we moved on to, kind of like you said, niching down because one of the things I said in the class, because I mean, everyone who attended either they were experienced,
Mm,
but of course, in different fields
yeah.
or different, and was sort of somehow exploring tech. And I said, you can't just, this the sun's just coming. You can't just discount or disregard all the experience that you've had several years in whatsoever, sector field. Something must be transferable. So it was important that you actually identify that. Then the other bit was, okay, you want to put your best foot forward rather than having to start completely, from, something completely new. Sorry. So I was saying that, for example, if you were in banking, and you wanted to get into tech, you could, whether it's business analysis, project management, cybersecurity, but remain in that domain because that gives you, some just give me 1 second, give me one. Well, we're going to have to sleep that one off. My son just badged it. Right. But okay. What was I saying? So yeah, it was what I was saying was that leverage that domain familiarity, if you like, or knowledge, because it is easier for you to say, okay, I've been in the health sector, for example, but maybe as a support worker, but now I want to get into business analysis, cybersecurity, whatsoever within that same domain because I believe that most organizations or hiring managers, recruiters, whatsoever, would see that if they see that on your CV, chances are that, okay, this person would not require a lot of hand holding because they're already familiar with that domain. They have somewhat, and that was something I was sort of trying to push for. And I hope sincerely that everyone took that. So what's your take on that one?
I think it was interesting when you were talking about that in class, because I think in tech when you're looking at, job descriptions, there are a lot of technical skills, but there are also lots of soft skills, right? So if
Mm,
you're talking about someone that maybe was, in the healthcare field before, just the customer service, the conflict
mm,
negotiation, the risk management, while it might have been more in the health sector from the experience, but those are transferable skills. And I think even for me, when I was thinking through, okay, from my time managing projects, there's so many things that could translate into my role now in financial compliance, and I actually still enjoy doing that, right? So I think
Mhm.
um, just that thought process in itself I think, is pretty helpful. And I was
Mm.
very happy that we got a chance to actually do that.
That's great.
Yeah.
Great. Okay, so I think we're going to round up. And so we then went, I think day three, we had the master class where we had the day in the life series. So we had someone talk about business analysis and then project management, and then I talked about data privacy. And I believe that that was also very useful because a lot of times people just get in head first without really trying to even do enough research. So I always say to people when they talk to me, I'm like, have you done any research? Because don't jump in because somebody you said you should, or because it seems like a popular or trendy, something that's trending and everyone's getting into it, but you do your homework and understand what will your day to day look like. Would that be something that you'd be happy to wake up in the morning to, log into work or go to work, doing that for the next, I don't know, however number of years you would find yourself in there. So that was why it was important for us to bring a few, people in to share what that was for, what their day to day. I was like on the job. So we did that on day three. And then just to kind of round things up, we went into how do you optimize your LinkedIn, just to showcase your strengths really. Because a lot of people just feel like, oh, well, I'm trying to get into tech. Do I really even have anything? Which again was why I was like, you definitely have something, whether it's soft skills, but something transferable, something of value that you could actually showcase. And so if somebody was having a look at your LinkedIn profile, they would be able to say, right, okay, this person was in, sales, but now they want to move into tech sales, or they want to be project manager, business analyst within the tech space. So therefore, they've got that sales background and experience. Showcase it. It is your experience. And sometimes you see people have 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years. And people sometimes they feel like, oh well, it wasn't in tech, so does it matter? Do I need to showcase it and stuff like that? So I think that was something that we also did. So we did a combination of, your transferable skills and where you were going into, this new path that you've identified in day one. And we kind of looked at how to optimize the LinkedIn. We leveraged AI. I think we used ChatGPT and Copilot, which again was a useful one. So maybe as we round up, do you want to kind of just talk through, that bit, and then maybe what would you advise anybody who is looking to join the next challenge? And then we just round it up.
Okay. So, um, it was interesting because I going into the class, I'm very comfortable using AI to augment or improve how I work, and especially with trying to optimize maybe my LinkedIn. But I feel like I learned even more in this class, and I was pleasantly surprised, right? And it also kind of helped me to understand like, there's some things I'm doing well, but I can even do it better.
Improve. Yeah.
Yeah. And there are some things, then it also encouraged me to actually do a little bit more research into how do I continue to train my own bot
Yeah.
for my LinkedIn. And
Yeah.
I think even understanding a little bit more about the LinkedIn algorithm and how to essentially make sure that I'm feeding at the right things and I'm showing up in the
Yeah.
right places.
Mhm.
That is where I actually want to take my career, right? So I
Mm.
think those were very important things that I feel like I really get. If I could think of, I would say what was the most valuable thing for me in this class. One, I think it was like this, I'll call it like the skill audit or the skill assessment. Um,
Mm.
I would say the second thing is actually getting a little bit more understanding of LinkedIn algorithm, how to actually search for a job properly,
Mm.
how to optimize your LinkedIn, how to use AI tools to actually improve like your CV.
Yeah.
Yes, I would say those were the biggest takeaways for me, and that I'm so happy I actually got a chance to actually learn in the class. It was an intense 5 days, and I think it was more intense for me
Yes.
because it actually required you to actually like really dig deep, and it's not one
Yeah.
of those things that you can actually coast. You have to
Yeah.
do the homework.
Yeah.
You come ready to learn, right? So
Mm.
yeah, it was a good 5 days. Looking forward to utilizing all the things I learned going forward.
Brilliant. Thanks for that. And what is one final word? to anybody who's thinking about joining?
Well, I mean, I feel like you would probably spend, the money for this course maybe like over dinner or like, doing something. But why don't you invest the money in yourself? So it was money well spent. And I'm very happy I took it. So I think you should just do it.
Thank you. All right, thank you. So, yeah, viewers, you've heard it. Thank you so much for sharing. And yeah, so if you're thinking about joining us the next time, we will be doing this as often, maybe every other month, just time permitting. So if you're interested, please DM, send us an email, and I will add you onto the wait list. So, yeah, that's it, pretty much. Thank you so much, Celia, for sharing, and it was nice having you. I like the fact that you were really engaged and you were asking, questions, and because sometimes people jump on these things and don't follow through because I think there were a few, one or two or three people who couldn't, sort of keep up. But at least what we do now have is we've got a drive, a shared drive. So everyone who's registered has access and they can go through in their own time and catch up. So you're not really losing out. So the next time you're thinking about